Your top stories this evening sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Killing of market vendor. Lance Corporal charged with manslaughter, granted $800,000 bail. Kamal Chand paints ugly picture of industrial relations in Guyana. Glimpses of discord among councillors over new parking meter report. Recommendations to be added to the parking meter bylaws. And security sector reform report handed over to the President. Hgp Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Thursday, January 18 edition of the Hgp Nightly News. Here's what's happening. GAU's President Kamal Chand tells the Executive Committee meeting of the International Union of Food and Allied Workers, which convened in Guyana on Thursday, that not only sugar workers are suffering in Guyana, but that the working people are all facing the heat. Royden James is on this story.
After warmly welcoming the executives of the International Union of Food and Allied Workers to Guyana, President of GAU, Mr. Kamal Chand, set about to paint a nasty picture of Guyana to the visitors. Here's some of what Mr. Chand had to say.
The situation at times appeared to be daunting as the workers and their families see their standard of living fall, and nowadays there is being made to fetch heavy burdens on their back, arising from the rising cost of living, brought about by the new and increased taxes, among several other measures.
The parliamentarian told of how his union is aware that the workers of the Caribbean are facing a testing period as several of their hard-won and cherished gains are under attack in the name of profits and super profits. This is what Mr. Chand said about the local situation.
The GAU cannot fail to point out that for the first time in over half a century, as an independent state, the workers do not have a Ministry of Labor to turn to. What was once a ministry has now been relegated to a mere department under the Social Protection Ministry. This is a matter which has attached a great degree of condemnation by the trade union movement, especially when it is noted that a full-fledged Ministry of Business has been established.
Chand said the workers' cherished tradition of collective bargaining has also not been spared as he turned his attention to the issues in the sugar belt.
For the workers in the sugar industry, the situation is even more disturbing and depressing. Though they are regarded as employees of the state, they have not benefited from any pay rise since 2014. As bad as that may be, the despairing story didn't end there, as the state-owned sugar company has unilaterally withdrawn or significantly curtailed several benefits and incentives the workers enjoyed.
Mr. Chand told the conference that the workers who are the victims of the largest retrenchment exercise in decades remain clueless as to the plans of the government to assist them to become gainfully employed. Royden James, Hgp Nightly News.
Still on sugar, billions of dollars will have to be dished out by the government before mid-year for sugar workers' severance pay. But another lingering issue is that of the sad state of affairs of the Sugar Industry Pension Fund. Kristen Macklingam reports.
The administration continues to grapple with the poor state of Guyana's sugar industry, having to provide almost $4 billion to facilitate the payment of severance to thousands of sugar workers. But the government may have another thorn in its side soon, with regard to the Sugar Workers' Pension Fund being in jeopardy. However, to date, according to President Granger, his administration has not been provided at the cabinet level with any information about the challenges facing this pension fund.
But we know at this point in time that the central government has been asked to provide funds for the termination benefits, I cannot answer now on the status of the pension funds.
President Granger responding to reporters at State House on Wednesday about his government's possible role in stabilizing the Sugar Workers Pension Fund. The Sugar Workers Pension Fund had been in trouble before the coalition government took office, and the president noted that his administration has remained very respectful of Gaisuco and its operations in this regard.
We respect the differences, the different shareholders, stakeholders in the industry. And I would say that we have not been provided at cabinet level with any information about the pension fund.
According to President Granger, his government has only been approached to help Gaisuco in relation to termination benefits for sugar workers.
But as you know, for the last 32 months or so, the government of Guyana has been bailing out Gaisuco almost at the rate of $1 billion a month.
Reporting for Hgp Nightly News, I am Kristen Macklingam.
Thank you, Kristen. After the break, killing of market vendor Lance Corporal charged with manslaughter and glimpses of discord among councillors over new parking meter report. Recommendations to be added to parking meter bylaws. Stay with us. Hgp Nightly News. We'll be right back.
You have a sense of style. It's elegant. It's chic. It's modern. It's timeless. At Quartz, we have the widest range of furniture to suit any style, so you're sure to find something that's you. Furniture is fashionable, only at Quartz, bringing value home.
Using state-of-the-art technology and highly trained professionals, let Optique Vision Care assist you with your eye care. Visit any of their 4 convenient locations at Times Square Mall on Grove Public Road, Helena No. 1 Mahaika, at the Giftland Mall, and our newest location at 350 East Street, North Cummingsburg, for added convenience. Their doors are open every day in the Giftland Mall, Monday through Saturday at Grove and East Street, every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday at Mahaika. Call them today, 266-0126, 222-7333, or 227-7744.
Party items to have a good time. Toys and galore to make the children smile. Saturday nice products make the cake look fine. At Game Express, yes, we've got it for you. Cool games you can play all day. Educational items, they're on their way. A gift for every person in the family. At Game Express, yes, we've got it for you.
Come down to Game Express for the best in kids' toys, games, party supplies, cake decorating, and more. Game Express, 25 North Road, Laceytown, Georgetown.
Building or upgrading your home? At Rockers Woodworking, we specialize in constructing grade A panel, French, arch, hardwood, Purple Heart, locust and cover doors, pantry, wardrobes, vanity, dressers, quality kitchen units and beds, step rails and spindles. All products are kiln-dried and custom-built to your specification at our factory Lot 6B Larry Souvenir Railway Embankment East Coast Demerara. Free delivery available, free estimates and 6 months warranty. Visit our showroom at Lot 16 Lombard Street, Work and West Georgetown. Rockers Woodworking. Call 695-0987-644-5489. Like us on Facebook.
Did you know that Hand in Hand is the longest established property insurer in Guyana? We've been serving Guyanese for over 151 years. You can visit our 15 offices countrywide, whether you're in Berbice, East Coast, East Bank, Linden, West Coast, Essequibo, or in Georgetown. You will enjoy competitive rates and a superior customer service, as well as our convenient payment options through MMG and Scotia Online. Hand in Hand, safeguarding your family, always secure.
Welcome back to the Hgp Nightly News. The recommendations outlined in the parking meter consultations report will be added to the new bylaws of the contract. 15 city councillors on Wednesday evening voted in favor of this move. More from Jevon Vickery, who was at City Hall.
Those who are in favor of accepting the report of the committee headed by Councillor Akim Peter on the renegotiating team, please show by the raise of your hands.
Your question, can I ask all those who are indicating that they agree, can I ask that they raise their hands, and can I ask the clerks to call the names of the honorable councillors as you go around so that there will be no mistake. Ms. Jerry, could you please come and call the names of the councillors with their hands up so that there will be no mistake.
This now means that the process to have the project back on stream will start immediately to have the recommended changes by the special committee added to the bylaws of the contract. A new set of bylaws will have to be drafted by the Georgetown Municipality's legal team before it is sent to Minister of Communities Ronald Bulkan for approval. This process could take a few months. Now, for what happened in Chambers Wednesday night, 15 members of council, including the mayor, voted for the recommendations to be added to the report. 4 members, including Deputy Mayor Lionel Jaikaran, voted against this move. 2 members abstained. Even though the council previously had unanimously voted for the contract to be renegotiated, several councillors wanted the project scrapped.
The contract has some very disadvantageous terms to the people of this city. It is not a good contract. It never was a good contract. And these superficial amendments that are being brought forward will not solve the major issues of the contract. 20 years is too long for that contract. And with a right, that is not an option in contracts. You usually have an option to renew. In this case, they are having a right, an absolute right. In certain parts of the contract, it's referring to the absolute discretion of the concessionaire to make changes.
There was also opposition from both the current and past deputy mayors. Councillor Sherrod Duncan expressed his displeasure at the decision of the mayor and councillors to resuscitate the project.
My description of this contract is what Donald Trump so unfortunately called those other countries recently. That is the description of this contract, this odious contract from such a sham company like SES. That has not planted a parking meter any place in the world. Has not done so. Any place in the world, they have not put down one parking meter.
The project was defended by Councillor Monica Thomas, who shared the view that based on the financial state of the council last year, the project is needed to offset the cost of running the city.
Nobody really cares about how the parking meter money will affect John Public, the common walking man or the bicycle riding man. They don't care. Everybody's concerned about how he or she can benefit. If the business community were able to have this project, they would have taken it just like that, because it's money, money, money. But because it's the city council trying to do something for itself, there is a problem, and we come up with all kinds of things.
Moving forward, both Smart City Solutions and City Hall have agreed to form a joint oversight committee to review the operations of the metered parking system twice per year for the next 3 years. Javon Vickery, Hgp Nightly News.
Thank you, Javon. Guyana gets 15 million United States dollars to execute a Norway-funded project for the development and management of sustainable lands around the country. The details in this report from Rodin James.
The 4-year project aims to address sustainable land development management and prevent land degradation. It will also address project management and to strengthen local governance in 3 regions for sustainable land development management, as well as to strengthen institutional and human capacity. With this injection of funds into Guyana, it is the hope of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations that 100% of the results can be achieved within the stipulated 4-year period. Here is FAO representative Mr. Ruben Robertson.
The journey from project concept to engagement of the stakeholders in consultations to project formulation, review by the government of Norway and the GRIF Secretariat have been very grilling, rocky, but rewarding. Sometimes I could see the impatience in Commissioner Ben, who just wanted to have the project finalized and approved. But we had to respond to over 45 pages of comments in a response matrix from the government of Norway after the first submission. So in response, we had to ensure that we got it right by justifying the project components and activities that will achieve meaningful outcomes for the country.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan gave his blessings to the project, which was designed to ensure that the productivity and the economic potential of Guyana's lands are maintained.
Indeed, the overarching goal of sustainable land management should be to contribute to government projects and programs that are aimed at achieving poverty reduction, economic growth, while promoting the full utilization of land resources in a sustainable manner.
The minister envisioned that issues to do with improving land tenure security, enhancing the efficiency, and improving service delivery must all be brought into contention. President David Granger said that Guyana's land base is to be properly protected to secure a good future for Guyanese.
Land degradation has the potential to affect food security, to affect sustainable livelihoods, to aggravate poverty, and to cause social instability. Guyana therefore recognizes the importance of protecting its land assets. It knows that land degradation will result in natural resource depletion, which, if not controlled, could lead to underdevelopment.
The government has requested the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations to provide technical assistance throughout the project through experts working side by side with national staff to enhance knowledge, skills, and experience sharing for ensuring sustainability and resilience of the land use systems in the country. Royden James, Hgp Nightly News.
Thank you, Royden. The Lance Corporal accused of killing an unarmed man early this week was on Thursday charged with manslaughter. Bail was granted in the sum of $800,000. Here's Javon Vickery.
51-year-old Gregory Bascom arrived at the Georgetown Magistrates Court escorted by a rank of the Criminal Investigations Department on Thursday morning. He appeared before Chief Magistrate Ann McLennan, charged with manslaughter. The allegation is that on January 14 at Regent Street, he unlawfully killed 34-year-old Marlon Fredericks. The Lance Corporal denied the allegation. Chief Magistrate Ann McLennan granted bail in the sum of $800,000. Bascom will make his next court appearance on February 8 for reports. Fredericks, the day before he met his demise, was seen in a video on social media being beaten and kicked brutally by a man who was confirmed a member of another arm of the joint services. The police stated that Fredericks had bolted from the lockups of the Border City Constabulary in a bid to escape from custody. The Lance Corporal allegedly shot him in the back. The shooting reportedly unfolded in full view of Frederick's mother, who was at the time visiting him at the outpost. Javon Vickery, Hgp Nightly News.
On the security front, the president slams the previous administration for dithering with security reform, saying that the PPP in the last 20 years had no intention to reform Guyana's security sector. Here again is Javon Vickery.
During his address following the handing over of the long-awaited UN Security Reform Program report, President David Granger related how he truly felt about the attempts made by the previous administration to reform the security sector. The president referred to the many attempts by the PPPC as a bluff, while alluding to a move by the opposition leader Bart Jagdeo to retain the services of former New York Police Commissioner Bernard Carrick, who pleaded guilty in 2009 in Southern District of New York to 8 federal charges, including tax fraud and false statements, and on February 18, 2010, was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison.
Who was supposed to be engaged as the security advisor from the 1st of February 2007. Had it not been for the criminal justice system and the fact that Mr. Carrick was soon confined to a correctional facility in his homeland, we would have been exposed to the tender mercies of Mr. Bernard Carrick.
The head of state further noted that the previous administration failed to make serious attempts to address the issue of crime, violence, and the narcotics trade, which he said reigned rampant during their term in office.
And like a disease, you can't pretend to treat it, you can't promise to treat it, you can't threaten to treat it, you can't talk about treating it without actually getting down to the root cause. And the first thing that happened after my election in May 2015, I engaged the British High Commissioner. And later that year, I went up to the United Nations and I met the British Prime Minister himself, Mr. David Cameron, who asked how we can help. I said, security sector reform.
Meanwhile, British expert Mr. Russell Combs stated that the report entails significant views on Ghana's security sector. He announced that he is likely to return in April and continue his work out of the Ministry of the Presidency until March 2019.
But as I also wanted to stress that it's a dynamic document, one that will be built upon throughout my period of return, and also a reference document for the various security sector players and actors who need to action the points that the President's raised.
Javon Vickery, Hgp Nightly News.
There is more news ahead. Stay with us.
Add some elegance to your home or office with an exquisite crystal chandelier from SNL Electrical Agency, 170 180 Thomas Street, Kitty. This dynamic lighting element features generous rows of cascading crystals to catch the light. Best deals on all air conditioning units, electrical fixtures, cables, circuit breaker panels, home appliances, and so much more. SNL Electrical Agency, 170 180 Thomas Street, Kitty. Call 226-3018 or 223-1634. SNL, where quality is guaranteed.
Ammerlander Milk. Milk made with fresh cow's milk from certified dairy farmers with 130.
Your top stories this evening, sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Killing of market vendor. Lance Corporal charged with manslaughter, granted $800,000 bail. Kamal Chand paints ugly picture of industrial relations in Guyana. Glimpses of discord among councillors over new parking meter report. Recommendations to be added to the parking meter bylaws. And security sector reform report handed over to the President. Hgp Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Thursday, January 18 edition. Your top stories this evening, sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Killing of market vendor. Lance Corporal charged with manslaughter, granted $800,000 bail. Kamal Chand paints ugly picture of industrial relations in Guyana. Glimpses of discord among councillors over new parking meter report. Recommendations to be added to the parking meter bylaws. And security sector reform report handed over to the President. Hgp Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Thursday, January 18 edition of the Hgp Nightly News. Here's what's happening. GAWU's President Kamal Chand tells the Executive Committee meeting of the International Union of Food and Allied Workers, which convened in Guyana on Thursday, that not only sugar workers are suffering in Guyana, but that the working people are all facing the heat. Royden James is on this story.
After warmly welcoming the executives of the International Union of Food and Allied Workers to Guyana, President of GAWU, Mr. Kamal Chand, set about to paint a nasty picture of Guyana to the visitors. Here's some of what Mr. Chan had to say.
The situation at times appeared to be daunting as the workers and their families see their standard of living fall, and nowadays they is being made to fetch heavy burdens on their back, arising from the rising cost of living, brought about by the new and increased taxes, among several other measures.
The parliamentarian told of how his union is aware that the workers of the Caribbean are facing a testing period as several of their hard-won and cherished gains are under attack in the name of profits and super profits. This is what Mr. Chan said about the local situation.
The GAU cannot fail to point out that for the first time in over half a century, as an independent state, the workers do not have a Ministry of Labor to turn to. What was once a ministry has now been relegated to contribute to their country.
Ambassador Solomonia addressing President Granger on Wednesday during the presentation of his credentials. The ambassador noted that his country will continue to provide Guyana with as much support as it can to help propel this country's developmental agenda. Meanwhile, President Granger acknowledged the contributions made by Georgia with emphasis on education.
Provisional scholarship for Guyanese to study in Georgia advanced substantially our relations and promoted our common interests. Excellency, Guyana's efforts to improve conditions of life of all of its citizens and Georgia's proven expertise in several fields of common interest represent the platform for enduring cooperation.
Meanwhile, the Republic of Cyprus's newest High Commissioner to Guyana, Haralambos Kaskarides, expounded on the great importance of strengthening the relations between his country and Guyana in both bilateral and multilateral levels.
Our two countries have signed a number of bilateral agreements, and we are discussing the conclusion of others. High-level official visits have also contributed to the enhancement of our bonds of friendship and cooperation.
In return, President Granger added that the common interest between the two countries have cemented relations since the establishment of formal diplomatic ties in February 1972.
Our relations are founded on mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs, cooperation for mutual benefit, respect for treaties and international law, and the maintenance of regional peace and security.
Reporting for Hgp Nightly News, I am Kristen Macklingam.
Thank you, Kristen. Royden James will tell you now that representatives of some of the world's largest petroleum companies will converge in Guyana next month when the country hosts its inaugural International Petroleum Business Summit and Exhibition. The event was launched on Wednesday.
The Guyana International Petroleum Business Summit aims to promote the networking of international and local stakeholders in the petroleum industry. It is scheduled for this February 7 to 9 in Georgetown. Natural Resources Minister Raphael Trotman said it was the view of the administration that bringing some of the world's leading companies to meet local business interests and concerns is way better than taking Guyanese business interests to the different parts of the world. His remarks came on Wednesday during the launch of the Business Summit and Exhibition at the Marriott Hotel.
We are providing a platform and an opportunity for all of those who speak about local content and the desire to see more of it, to actually shake hands and to touch the Schlumbergers and the others who do this and have been doing this for the last 10 and 5 decades.
Mr. Trotman said this is the government's way of saying that it is in partnership with the business community. He said the government does not feel that it should be the one to run things in this regard.
We are happy, as I said, that businesses here in Guyana can meet the top businesses from elsewhere. And so it was without hesitation that we said yes to this venture. And it was without hesitation that the Ministry of Business and Go Invest said yes when we said to them, please take this on board for us and we will give you the support rather than we trying to headline it ourselves.
ExxonMobil country manager Mr. Rod Henson said ExxonMobil is pleased to see the realization of an event of this magnitude and that the company is extremely happy to be the lead partner in the undertaking.
This is a really big deal, and I'm sure this will prove to be the first of many very, very effective events. We've had a long relationship here in Guyana. We feel a special responsibility to share our experiences and to participate in these discussions. Very proud to kind of walk hand in hand with Guyana as they join a community of oil-producing nations. This is really just the beginning.
The three-day summit is being organized by the United Kingdom's Valiant Business Media in collaboration with the Guyana Office for Investment, Go Invest, as the lead agency in Guyana, and the Ministry of Natural Resources. Roy and James, Hgp Nightly News.
Your sportscast is ahead.
Planning a cleanup? We can help. Sevon's Waste Management skip bins can be provided for home renovation projects, yard cleanup, or construction project. It's simple.
Your top stories this evening sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Killing of market vendor. Lance Corporal charged with manslaughter, granted $800,000 bail. Kamal Chand paints ugly picture of industrial relations in Guyana. Glimpses of discord among councillors over new parking meter report. Recommendations to be added to the parking meter bylaws. And security sector reform report handed over to the President. Hgp Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Thursday, January 18 edition. Your top stories this evening sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Killing of market vendor. Lance Corporal charged with manslaughter, granted $800,000 bail. Kamal Chand paints ugly picture of industrial relations in Guyana. Glimpses of discord among councillors over new parking meter report. Recommendations to be added to the parking meter bylaws. And security sector reform report handed over to the President. Hgp Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Thursday, January 18 edition of the Hgp Nightly News. Here's what's happening. GAU's President Kamal Chand tells the Executive Committee meeting of the International Union of Food and Allied Workers, which convened in Guyana on Thursday, that not only sugar workers are suffering in Guyana, but that the working people are all facing the heat. Roy and James is on this story.
After warmly welcoming the executives of the International Union of Food and Allied Workers to Guyana, President of GAU, Mr. Kamal Chand, set about to paint a nasty picture of Guyana to the visitors. Here's some of what Mr. Chand had to say.
The situation at times appeared to be daunting as the workers and their families see their standard of living fall, and nowadays they is being made to fetch heavy burdens on their back, arising from the rising cost of living, brought about by the new and increased taxes, among several other measures.
The parliamentarian told of how his union is aware that the workers of the Caribbean are facing a testing period as several of their hard-won and cherished gains are under attack in the name of profits and super profits. This is what Mr. Chan said about the local situation.
The GAU cannot fail to point out that for the first time in over half a century, as an independent state, the workers do not have a Ministry of Labor to turn to. What was once a ministry has now been relegated to a...
Ramdin's 50 was not enough as wickets kept falling at the other end, resulting in the entire team being bundled all out for 135 in 45 overs, with Raymond Reefer making another 5-wicket haul. The Jaguars started solidly just after lunch, with a first-wicket partnership of 109 runs between Tanjoreng Chandrapal and Chandrapal Hemraj. The partnership was broken in the closing minutes of play by Brian Charles. The Jaguars at stump on day 1 were 116 for 1. Reporting from the Guyana National Stadium, Providence, I am Stanford Howard.
Thank you, Stanford. It has emerged that some squad members of the Vijay Mallya-owned Barbados Tridents are still awaiting full payment of their wages following the 2017 Caribbean Premier League. According to CricBiz, a number of Tridents players and management have not received outstanding amounts due to them ranging from $10,000 to more than $100,000. Since the tournament ended last September, it was expected that all amounts would be settled before the end of last year. But a number of players are still awaiting to be fully paid by the franchise, despite them threatening to pursue legal action. The CPL has produced strong broadcasting figures released last week showing a 25% upturn in broadcast and digital viewership, while the competition has increasingly attracted some of the best limited overs players in the world. Several anti-doping agencies say the rights of clean athletes at next month's Winter Olympics have been undermined by the failure to confirm the criteria for neutral Russian competitors. Russians were banned from Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympics by the International Olympic Committee in December, but athletes who can prove they are clean would be allowed to compete under a neutral flag at the Games. The IOC is yet to publish conditions for a neutral athlete, with the Games in South Korea 3 weeks away. A letter signed by UK anti-doping and 19 other national anti-doping bodies said the failure to announce these criteria and reach a decision more promptly is a missed opportunity that has undermined the rights of clean athletes. In order to compete, an athlete must not have been disqualified or have been declared ineligible for any violation of anti-doping rules. The Russian ban followed an investigation into allegations of state-sponsored doping at the 2014 Games hosted by Russia in Sochi. The letter calls for the names and individual testing histories of Russian athletes who have met robust and demanding criteria to be published, and for the IOC to publicly call for protection for whistleblowers. The Golden State Warriors defeated Chicago Bulls on Wednesday night in what could be described as a very tough game, which saw Bulls guard Chris Dunn take a nasty spill where he chipped and dislocated 2 front teeth. The Bulls Wednesday in this season's premier home showcase game showed they were a good team, a season highest scoring first quarter and nearly so by halftime. Nikola Mirotic superb with 24 points off the bench and 3 steals. Chris Dunn and Robin Lopez with 16 each. 6 players scoring in double figures and David Edwaba with a biting defense. But the Golden State Warriors with an absorbing 119-112 victory showed the Bulls they weren't quite good enough. The first quarter was quite the spectacle as both teams put up very impressive scores. The Chicago Bulls ended the quarter with 40 points and Golden State Warriors 38. In the second quarter, the Heat slowed down a bit as the teams may have burned too much energy in the first quarter. The Bulls ended with 26 points, 1 ahead of Warriors. At halftime, the points were Bulls 66 and Warriors 63. When the game started the third quarter, the Warriors came back with astonishing power and an impeccable defense, backing the Bulls into a corner, putting up 32 points, and Bulls a meager 12 points. The game went into the final quarter, and this was when the play began to pick up steam again. The Bulls ended with a 10-point lead over the Warriors, but this was not enough to give them the victory. Chicago Bulls guard Chris Dunn chipped and dislocated 2 front teeth when he fell with 2 minutes and 52 seconds left in the fourth quarter in the game. And that has brought us to the end of this edition of the Hgp Sportscast. Before we go, remember, adversity causes some men to break and others to break records. Goodbye.
Killing of market vendor Lance Corporal charged with manslaughter, granted $800,000 bail. Kamal Chand paints ugly picture of industrial relations in Guyana. Glimpses of discord among councillors over new parking meter report, recommendations to be added to parking meter bylaws, and security sector reform report handed over to the President. Those were our major headlines. For these stories and more, you can go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Travis Chase. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.